Hey, what's up? We are here. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com. Norm, along with Mike. It is Sunday, October 17th. I always have to check the date. 2021. We're coming off a 3-1 Leafs win over the rival Senators, getting back that loss in Ottawa 2 nights earlier. So it's 2-1 on the season for the Maple Brothers, Mr. Augello. And I guess the sense is, at least right now, calm for now.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's just say this. It'll be nice to not play a team from Canada. They played 9 straight preseason. Well, I mean, if you go back to last year, they played 65 straight games plus 7 playoff games against Canadian foes. So on Monday when they play the Rangers, that'll be a new thing. But after playing Montreal and Ottawa 3 times each in the preseason, playing them the first 3 games of the regular season wasn't exactly ideal because of familiarity. They basically knew what the Leafs would do. And to get 2 victories in the first 3 games, I think is pretty good. And I have to say that except for little blips, their defensive game has been pretty stellar. So we'll see how that tests out when they play the Rangers and I believe San Jose next week.
Yeah. Hey, Rob, you mentioned that I was making a Timmy's run. It's actually a Starbucks run. So it cost me like 3 times as much. And the value isn't there. And I'm not too sure that the enjoyment is there either. Good to see Rob this morning. Hello, everyone. Moon Bear, Mike and Norm. Morning, dudes. Good to see you guys again. Back at you there, MB. So Kerfoot, Simmons, and Bunting with the goals, pacing the Maple Leafs, pushing them through the game and getting them the W. The defensive play was there. Jack Campbell, 20 saves. He was pretty fantastic. The title for this podcast, you'll see the thumbnail, Jacked, because we're all jacked, right? It's nice to see these other guys scoring in lieu of Marner and Tavares gripping their sticks too tight.
Yeah, I mean, and I've said a couple times on previous convos that I thought the key to this year, I mean, obviously, if one of the core 4 gets hurt, that's going to be problematic to say the least. But the key to this season would be the secondary players being able to contribute, the replacing of Nick Foligno, the replacing of Zach Hyman, more importantly, whether the absence of Zach Bogosian on the bottom pairing would be a point of crisis, and the replacement of Frederick Anderson in goal. Now, obviously, the injury to Mrazek is something that I think is troubling. Now, the report that came out was that it's only a couple weeks, but right now, first thing you see, Simmons, Kerfoot, and Bunting, and especially Bunting because the left side on those top 2 lines will be extremely important. I still would like to see Richie playing with Matthews and Marner and see how that works. So far in the first few games, he's been underwhelming. But Bunting, his speed, his ferocity, his intensity, he goes to in front of the net against Montreal, gets the crap beat out of him, but was willing to pay the price. He's working well along the boards. I think he's been pretty decent defensively. They need those guys to be able to contribute. And last night you got a goal out of Simmons and a goal out of Bunting, and those are important goals.
Chris Daniels in the chat. Bunting looks like the real deal. Was that the when Kyle Dubas brought him over to replace? You do your best to replace someone like Zach Hyman, but were they thinking that, hey, no point paying Hyman when we have Bunting coming up, and potentially able to fill this guy's skates? Maybe not fully right now, but he'll do enough, and economically it'll work out better for us.
Well, we do know that they tried to re-sign Alex Galchenyuk. He didn't want to. He has a home in Arizona, and he decided he wanted to play in Arizona, and that's fine. But they really, I think the way they approached the offseason was sort of a shotgun approach. It's okay, we'll bring in Richie, we'll bring in Bunting, Keefe and Dubas know Bunting from their days in the Sioux. We'll bring in Amadio, who again didn't play for the Sioux, but is from the Sioux, so there was some prior knowledge there, and a teammate with Muzzin and Campbell in L.A.
Geez, if they're going out with the guys they know.
Yeah, exactly, because it's an important year, because I think it's either win something or probably Kyle Dubas is going to be looking for a job. So I think that it's an understandable approach. Mm-hmm. They bring in Kasha after he misses all but 3 games with Boston last year because of concussion problems. He has played well. They signed David Kemp. He has been really good defensively. So these are all little moves. These are all cost-effective moves. But if they add up to being contributors, then you don't have to go out and spend big tons of money to find players who can help you. And that limitation was there this summer, but so far it's only 3 games, but so far they've shown that they have contributed.
Tony Soprano's here. Nice to see Soupy and Spezza play well in Toronto, former Stars players. Spezza with a nice goal the other night in Ottawa against the team. Did he ever captain the Senators?
No.
Or was that
Elvis? No, I don't know about the Senators. He never captained the Stars, but he might have. Chris Phillips. Chris Phillips was captain for a long time, so maybe not.
Maybe not. Yeah. I mean, Bunting's a cost-effective move. Speaking of costs, what's the cost here in having a backup goaltender from the University of Toronto?
Well,
wait in the wings if in case Jack Campbell, who has been known to fall victim to injury. You know what I'm saying?
This was an early season issue, and it wasn't only the Leafs that had a problem. Yeah. Colorado had to play with less than 20 players last night because of cap ramifications, and with them it was COVID. So I mean, it was not it's not ideal to lose a goaltender in the first game, and because of the fact that Justin Hall was injured or sick, he had the flu. What they would have probably done had that not been the case, they probably would have sent Liljegren down to the Marlies to clear his salary to bring up Michael Hutchinson, but they needed Liljegren in the lineup, and he played pretty well last night. And they couldn't call up Hutchinson, so they signed Alex Bishop, the University of Toronto goaltender, to an ATO. Knock on wood, it wasn't a David Ayres situation where he actually had to go in and play, but he was on the bench, and I'm sure it'll be something he tells his grandkids about. But in the end, the issue, like I said earlier, they need Mrazek to play games. They're going to need Michael Hutchinson to play games. More than likely, Campbell, since there was a day off in between, will play against the Rangers on Monday and play one of the 2 back-to-back games on the weekend, Friday, Saturday. I know San Jose is the game on Friday. So they Michael Hutchinson's going to get in there for at least a couple games, but they need. They're very lucky that Hutchinson didn't get claimed on waivers by somebody.
It was hard to get on Hutchinson, right? He's available, and he's not only required, he's needed.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I mean, the way the goaltending situation is around the league, I mean, I know Elliot Friedman was reporting, he said there are teams that were interested in Hutchinson, so him not getting claimed. I mean, if he had been claimed, then your backup goaltender would have been Eric Shalgren, who started against Manitoba for the Marlies, and he doesn't have any NHL experience, so at least you have an experienced guy there that can step in.
And we want to thank our sponsor, Toronto Real Estate.at. That's his Instagram, Anthony Taglieri. If you're on social media right now, specifically Instagram, follow this man. He's fantastic for many reasons, including the fact that he has decided to join the Leafs Convo movement as a sponsor. We'll get to know a little bit more about Anthony and the services he offers in just a moment as we do our Ask Mike segment. That's coming up in just a few minutes. So the Leafs are 2-1. If the Leafs were 10-1, I don't think it would be good enough. If they were 1-10, you'd have the naysayers with axes standing at 40 Bay waiting to execute Kyle Dubas, his staff, and Sheldon Keefe as well, Marner, Tavares, and all those guys. So I don't know if there will be contentment at any point, regardless of how the Leafs are doing. So we just have to push forward and live in the moment. Tavares and Marner each played around 20 minutes last night. That's more than William Nylander, who nobody has any complaints with. He's getting his points and just looks like he's taking his game and his presence to another level, and that's fantastic. But Marner and Tavares have to get going at some point. Are they just snake bitten? Is Tavares, and these are a bunch of questions coming at you, Mike, is Tavares, has he rounded the curve? Is he kind of on the decline now personally as a player? Is Marner still psychologically affected from just how shitty his playoff was last year? Is the fact that Austin Matthews is not around to, be a part of the tandem that makes him better, affecting what he's trying to do? Plenty of questions there, Mike, but everyone's asking questions about these two guys right now.
Well, I think that, first with Tavares, I haven't seen really a drop off in his play. It's simply, he's only got a 1 assist in 3 games.
He hit a post with an open net last night.
Marner had a couple opportunities with the empty net, and one was blocked, one was, so it's like, I hope that the narrative that he's snake bit doesn't continue to just continue to just go on. But I'm sure there's a level of comfort that Matthews and Marner have in terms of playing with each other since they played together all year. And we know that Nylander and Tavares had that level of comfort as well. So I think they, ideally they want to get back to that. And if Matthews is back in the lineup on Monday, then you're probably going to see Matthews and Marner and Tavares and Nylander. So right now, the Matthews injury has, facilitated them having, mixed up their lines. Ideally, they don't want Alex Kerfoot being the number 2 center. They want him probably being the number 3 center or 3 left winger or whatever. I don't know. That's the interesting thing. They have set up their checking line with Engvall, Kampf, and Kasha. And, when Matthews comes back, does that mean that Kerfoot slots in on the left side on that line? We don't know.
What is the word on Matthews as of right now? What have you heard?
Sheldon Keefe yesterday said he is feeling better than he has felt, but I think there's a good chance he plays on Monday. But if you look at the schedule, they play on Monday against the Rangers, and they have 3 more days off before back-to-back games on Friday and Saturday. I would think that maybe if they held him out on Monday, then that basically is giving him another week, another full 3 days of practice and getting comfortable with that wrist. So I think it's 50-50 he plays on Monday. Since they won, they're not in any kind of great danger, and the Rangers have started off a little bit slow right now, but you can't underestimate them. But I think what they're making sure is they want Matthews to not have to drop out of the lineup for a game in a month because his wrist is acting up. They want to make sure it's completely healthy, and I think that's the right way to approach it.
Akuma's deception. Nylander's line is buzzing right now. We know that. Nice to see all 3 get on the score sheet. It's crazy that a $7 million player is driving the line, but the other 2 $10 million players plus can't. Do we need to be reminded that Nylander only makes 7 and that these other guys make 10 every time these guys don't do well? And then when Nylander isn't doing well, he only makes $7 million. I get the point. We got the point. Back in the day, these 2 dudes are struggling, whether they make $1 or $10 million. The key here is to get everybody going and humming along and contributing accordingly. Again, Marner and Tavares, if these guys scored 120 points each, it would not be enough for other people, right? And Nylander playing to his ability, he probably deserves more money. So reminding us of who makes what every time somebody does something or somebody does not do something. At this point, I think we're beyond that as a fan base. This team collectively has to get its shit together, and we'll see. I get the point. We got the point, but we don't need to be reminded of it every time.
Well, I think that's definitely a valid point. It's like, okay,
but we know it already. Like, what the
once they sign that deal, then all that contract amount is expectation is okay. Well, if he doesn't score 4 points a game, well, he's making 11 million bucks. He should be scoring 4 points a game. Well, it doesn't work that way. It's like sometimes
Matthews makes $10 million. He's not playing. He's injured. Well, shouldn't he be playing all the time?
Right. Exactly.
What the hell is he injured for? He makes that kind of money. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he should. He's making 11.6 million. He should fight.
How about some harmony? Jeremy W. JT is now an anchor.
No, he's
not. The thing. I mean, that's the thing, right, Mike? That's the thing. Who are you going to bring in for Marner and Tavares right now because you hate these guys and you want them to be exiled based on 3 games of work?
Yeah,
I don't understand. Where are they going to go? Who are you going to bring back? And how is this team going to win a Stanley Cup this year?
When Tavares scores 4,
sorry guys, I love you, but when
Tavares scores 4 points in a couple weeks in a game,
won't be enough, Mike. It won't be.
Well, no, but then you'll have everybody. Oh my God, JT is the greatest player since sliced bread. I mean,
I don't know. This is such a divisive fan base, and I don't know if we aid in making it worse or if we actually try to temper the waters a little bit. I'm just saying, let's give everybody a chance to find their rhythm. Let's get Matthews back working with Marner or Nylander or whomever. I'm sure Marner is feeling like complete crap in the way things are going on. But he's got to get his act in order too. So look, we know these guys need to produce more than they're being paid at this level. I don't know if they're capable of doing it, but let's keep pushing forward. At the end of the day, I think Matthews coming back at some point will either add fuel to a fire that is beginning to heat up for this team, or if it's struggling, I mean, he will be a welcome addition.
Well, the concern is always when a star player comes back is that everybody can sort of take a breath and say, okay, Austin's back, so I can relax a little bit. I don't have to try as hard, and he's going to carry the mantle of scoring goals. Well, I mean, you can't do that. You need players to be, motivated to be able to score and not rest on their laurels. And like I said, I think there's going to be a little bit of settling in because Matthew hasn't played competitive games since Game 7 against Montreal. So it could take a little bit of time for that to settle in. Although who knows? He could score 2 goals in his first game and everything will seem fine. So I think that right now Marner and Tavares and their production is the least of the Leafs' concerns. I honestly think that the biggest concern is the goaltending in the sense that Campbell's played great in 3 games or 2 games in 1 period. But again, we know his injury history. We know what the team dealt with last year, where they had to go out and trade a 3rd-round pick to get David Rittich because they didn't know whether they were going to have 2 goaltenders in the playoffs because Freddie Anderson's injury situation was up in the air, and they had to manage Campbell throughout the year, giving him days off because of knee problem or groin problem or whatever it was. Their success or failure rides on them being able to play adequate defense in front of the goaltender and having a goaltender who can play well on most nights. And they were depending on Mrazek to probably play 30 to 35 games. And now he's going to be out for at least a couple weeks. And like I said, groin injuries are really a pain in the butt when it comes to goaltenders. There isn't a day that a goalie does not use his groin. So it's going to be a problem for them.
Well, I can remember a few Leafs goalies from the early 80s who didn't use any part of their body to do anything.
We're not talking about Kurt Ridley. Yeah.
In accordance with the rules of the job, right? I don't want to get weighed down on shitting on this team stars, but I would ask the OGs and converts who are here, what do you want to do with Marner and Tavares? Just fire them, get rid of them, and then bring in a couple of beer leaguers? I don't at this point. All you can do is complain, right? Just complain, and then where does that get you, right? What do you propose? Who's going to take these guys that are tarnished and tainted? So I'm not trying to start a problem here, but it's the same thing over and over again. What do you want to do? Marner stinks, so demote him to the fourth line. How's that going to help him?
Okay.
When William Nylander was struggling, his fans would say, put him up with Matthews, give him an opportunity to play with better players. Well, he found his own way. There's a movement against these guys on social media. There's shit right now. I get it. And they may never return to form. Well, just constantly lamenting. It's so laborious and so it weighs everything down. We get it. They're not playing well, but you can't ship them out.
But the reality of the situation is, I mean, okay, they're not going anywhere. And I don't care how much people bitch and complain. Mitch Marner is not going anywhere, and neither is John Tavares.
Put him down on the farm and give him farm pay. You can't.
John Tavares.
They're so upset about the playoffs. I get it.
John Tavares has got a no-move clause. He's got, I think, 4 years left in his contract. He's not going anywhere. Mitch Marner is making almost $11 million. He was a top 5 in the NHL in NHL scoring. So he's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can complain, you can bitch and moan. They're not going anywhere. Sorry.
Yeah, Chris Daniels, put him on the third line to spread out the offense.
Well, no, I mean, okay.
There's enough offense, but again, other than to send a message that, hey, Mitch, you're not playing well, go play on the third line.
I won't criticize that out of hand for this in the sense that, I mean, look at a team like Pittsburgh a few years ago that moved Kessel down to the third line to spread out the offense, and that helped win them a Stanley Cup. But this team is not set up that way because the third line is a checking line with Kasha and Kampf, and they're going to use it as a matchup. Yep. And I think you can get away with that. I mean, if Kampf scores a goal in 82 games, I don't know if that's going to be successful. But they're a front-loaded team on the top 6, and that's just the reality.
Well, Austin Matthews can't return soon enough for Mitch Marner for a variety of reasons. If historically we'll look back and go, Mitch Marner was indeed Matthews' valet and picked up all the points because he played with Matthews. Well, good for Marner. He made a whole bunch of money from it, and it is what it is. If these two get back together and it's still not working, and then the Leafs do have other options offensively that they can shake down and see how it works in that moment. We have to live in the moment here based on this 2-1 record and this last outing. We should be positive. We should be happy. In the moment, there are lots of things to be concerned about going forward, but we'll save that for another day. Let's get into some sponsorship action here, Mike. Whether you are buying or selling your house, you can appreciate that the process can be complex and challenging. The Leafs Convo is excited to be partnered with Anthony Taglieri, a GTA realtor who always puts his clients first. We know that for a fact. Anthony brings a unique expertise to each situation and has sought out higher education to become a well-rounded advisor. Check out his Instagram at torontorealestate.at, or you can give him a call at 647-390-8758, whether you want to talk real estate or the Leafs. Anthony, thank you very much for your sponsorship of the show. Anthony sponsors the Ask Mike segment. So let's get into that. Johnny on community, youtube.com/the Leafs Convo. Do you think Marner's issues right now are just a blip or cause for concern? Again, we've talked about it, but we'll leave it with your 2 cents and move forward.
I think it's a blip. I think, obviously the specter of everything that happened in the playoffs is foremost in the minds of Leaf fans right now. And, with every little minute failure or inability to score a goal or to put it into an empty net, that comes back. Unfortunately, that's going to be this season. No matter what Mitch Marner does during the regular season, even if he has a game where he has 3 assists, the memory of the series against Montreal is going to pop up in everybody's head. The only way to cleanse that, the only way to remove that is success in the playoffs. And that's not going to happen until late April or early May. So this is just something that we're going to be talking about all year Norm. No matter what he does, if he leads the NHL, if he's the Art Ross Trophy winner, it's still going to be there, because the regular season, other than qualifying for the postseason tournament, is meaningless. This team has to be focused on one simple thing: success in the playoffs.
Well, look, Marner seems to have lost his footing, and it's carried over from last season. Has he lost his nerve, which is more important? Because if you lost your nerve, it's certainly tough to get back. And we have seen players begin a career with so much promise and then just tail off for a variety of reasons, and they're never able to find their game again. I do think once Auston Matthews returns, you put Marner back with him, whether he deserves it or not. That's where Sheldon Keefe is going to situate number 16, and I'm sure they'll work magic together. Collectively, I just want the team to win more than it loses, and do what it can to improve its standing and stature as the season progresses forward, because no matter what happens between now and the beginning of the playoffs, it's what happens when the playoffs are all said and done that will determine the potentially fate of guys like Tavares, Marner, Nylander, Matthews, and ultimately Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe. Another question for you, #AskMike. When you see it in community or on Twitter, follow it up with a question for Mr. Augello. Anthony, what's your take on what seems like a different approach to the start of the season? We haven't seen any high-flying, high-scoring games like we usually would in October. It has to do with Auston Matthews not being there, wouldn't you say?
Well, yeah, I mean, and
the opponents.
I think it's more the opponents. I think the fact that, because normally like early in the year, it's the Leafs are scoring 6 goals a game, and it's just unrealistic that continues, and then it sort of settles in about 20 to 25 games into the season. This year, I think they played teams that they played in the preseason 3 times. So that
just never ends.
Yeah, I know. I mean, in this situation, familiarity is a way of, you're able to limit the opposition because you're so familiar to their lines and how they play. So we'll see how that works against the Rangers, because they haven't played the Rangers in over almost 2 years. So I think that, that probably you'll see a little more offense when the schedule sort of broadens out. But yeah, I think the opposition is the main reason why.
Yeah, Chris Daniels really good in the chat right now. At the end of the day, it's 3 games, so it's hard to say anything. I would like to see some outside the box thinking early in the season. Is that something a guy like Sheldon Keefe wants to commit to?
No, Sheldon Keefe is going to stick with his plan. I mean, you're only doing outside the box thinking when you're sort of throwing stuff against the wall and you're out of answers. I think he's, like, for example, their plan was, okay, we're going to have a checking line. We're going to have David Kampf, who is, big and fast and good on faceoffs, be the center of our third line, with Andre Kasha, who he played with and knows from the Czech Republic for a number of years. And, right now they have Pierre Engvall. We're going to have a line devoted strictly to defense and matching up to the other team's number 1 line. That was a plan. They didn't throw that together at the 11th hour. I think there's some flexibility when it comes to like the 4th line, because if Mike Amadio doesn't play well, or Wayne or Jason Spezza is a better fit on the right wing instead of center, I think there's some flexibility there, or the bottom pairing. But in terms of like, I don't think they're going to think outside the box. They thought about what they wanted to do when they were putting this team together.
This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. oakridgeford.com. Look at the ticker.
Wow.
We should start putting in like little updates.
Yeah.
Like the breaking news. Norm has run out of coffee.
Stock prices,
stock prices. Yeah, I know. Oak Ridge Ford right now, we have vehicles on the ground. And that's important because many of our competitors do not. 0% on escape up to 72 months, 0% on edge up to 72 months. We've got Explorers, some F-150s. If you are in the market for a vehicle, or if you need some advice on it, I do what Anthony does, offer my ear to any questions or concerns you may have. You don't have to purchase from us. Just reach out. You can get at me through Twitter. You can get at me through community. oakridgeford.com. Visit the website, and who knows, we might even have a pre-owned vehicle that you're interested in seeing. So you mentioned it, Mike, the Rangers, San Jose, and Pittsburgh this week. This is going to be a refreshing week for Canadian hockey fans, Maple Leaf fans, the Maple Leafs, the organization, just breaking down that door and, finally reemerging, I guess, on the scene with the rest of the NHL. So 2-1, we're endeavoring into kind of an unknown landscape, or at least a rare landscape that we haven't known for quite some time. I'm excited just to see the Leafs play teams that are not wearing a jersey representing a Canadian NHL organization. Last few points, Mike, and we'll get moving.
Yeah, I mean, I am as well, because it's just sort of been stale. I mean, if there was an argument for or against the Canadian-only division last year, was the argument against it, because it got dull. It got boring. I mean, playing, Winnipeg 10 times and Montreal 10 times. I think you need to see, all the teams out there, and I think that just makes it more interesting. Now, just to touch on this, because a couple people in the chat were mentioning it. Josh Hosang, in his first game with the Marlies, scored 2 goals. One of them was a really nice 2-on-1 conversion with Nick Robertson. The other one was a power play goal. Kirill Simonov had, I think, 3 or 4 assists. I don't think he'll be on the team in the next 2 weeks, but I do think if he continues to play like that, which is
so, what is he? What is the point of all of it? If the guy scores like crazy every single game, and we're still expecting that he's not going to cross the threshold,
I think he's got to prove his consistency, Norm. I think he's got to. It's great that he scored 2 goals in your first game. Now, not to say you have to average 2 points a game every game with the Marlies, but okay, the attitudinal things that he ran into problems with the Islanders. I think those are I think they're starting to be convinced that he's grown up and that he really wants to continue his NHL career. But I think they want to see. It's not going to be a couple weeks. It's going to be a couple months.
What do they want to see from this guy when they already know skill-wise he's better than?
It's more
half the forward.
Playing hockey is more than just skill. Okay. He's got to be, not only a good teammate. He's got to prove that he can listen to instruction and follow instruction. And that there were some, I know critics of Hosang when it came to his stint with the Islanders, is that he was shuffling by the beat of a different drummer. Like they acknowledge his talent. Tavares, Dubas, a lot of people on the Leafs right now say he's got boatloads of talent, but if he doesn't conform to the team ethic of what they want to do, then it's all for naught.
Well, so far so good. He hasn't been booted from the organization yet.
Right, exactly. But one game or one or one exhibition schedule does not a successful story make. So they want to see over a couple months.
The concern must be really deep, though, Mike.
Well, I mean, it's based on 6 years of him being in the Islanders organization, and not, the talent is there. He's an NHL level talent. It's just a question of whether, whatever issues he had previously are gone. And if they're gone, and please, he's got enough talent to play on the wing with Matthews and Marner, or with Tavares and Nylander. But they,
potential results here are tantalizing.
Yes. Yeah.
Will he be able to achieve those results? The proof is in the behavior, not just today or this coming week, but it seems like the weeks and months ahead. it's a nice little project for the Leafs to have, especially if he keeps scoring. And I'm not sure a lot of the fans care too much about somebody's disposition. They're just looking for results right now. We know Marner and Tavares are both great guys. Tavares potentially a Hall of Famer, but neither seems to be pulling their weight right now. I don't know if they'll ever get credit for fully pulling their weight. I just want to see them put some points on the board, grip their sticks a little less tight, and enjoy themselves and help contribute to what this team is all about. Don't forget, guys, Anthony Taglieri, 647-390-8758. You know, you guys all like free stuff. Nobody likes to pay for the service. And, you know, I don't even know, are we worthy of having you give us money for what we do? Probably not. However, we do have sponsors who are on board with us. So if you can hit up their content, like oakridgeford.com and at torontorealestate.at. Throw them a follow. If you have any questions about real estate, you can get at Anthony. You can also get at oakridgeford.com in relation to any questions you have about cars. I know you have a couple of questions in the chat. The point I'm trying to make is, you know, we are able to get some monetary support from companies and individuals. All we'd ask of you is that you know, through us, you can support them, so we can keep the chains moving, keep the cycle alive and well, because we love doing the Convo, but it does take some work, and it is nice when we can get you know, a little bit of backing financially to make what we do even better. So you know, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. OG's Converse, we really appreciate everything you do for us. Mike, do you have any last points you want to make, or do we just leave it like the way it is? We live in the moment. The Leafs are coming off a win. Pretty impressive contributions from guys who are, you know, the tertiary support players. Let's just move forward and see what the Ranger game has in store.
Yeah, and hopefully we see Austin Matthews on Monday, and if not, on Friday, and then we'll see what this team, once everybody is back, what they're really like.
Yeah, and Matthews doesn't have to be rushed, does he?
No, but I think a lot of fans are anxious to see this team at their full complement and see how well they play, because they didn't see that all preseason because Matthews was out all preseason.
Yeah, it's the goaltending situation, again, is concerning to me, Mike. That's the thing. I don't know. It's possible Michael Hutchinson's
he's going to get games.
Getting a run of games.
He's going to play some games that yeah. probably next weekend. I would guess that Hutchinson would play against San Jose, and Campbell, after probably playing tomorrow and playing his third of 4 games, would get probably, you know, the next 3 or 4 days off. You know, they're going to have to play one of those goaltenders in one of the back-to-back. So why not play Hutchinson against the really weak San Jose Sharks?
At Mike in Buffalo, at I am Norman James. Follow my Facebook page at Norm at Oak Ridge Ford. You can just Google me, you find me. I appreciate all the support. Of course, with the YouTube channel, subscribe, like the video, tell your friends about it. We do have a recent podcast. Pick your battles. We need some more views on that. If you guys can hit some click it. If you haven't watched it yet, watch this, and you know, just let the autoplay go. And that's our last podcast, so we can use a little bit more emphasis and some more eyeballs on that show. And I know every time we guys call you guys into action, you do come through for us. You can also read Mike's stuff at hockeybuzz.com. Mike is writing for the Cheektowaga Gazette as well. So if you wanted to get some reviews on Western New York recipes, Mike will certainly provide those for you. Ooh, pumpkin soup. Okay, that's the time to end it. For Mike, I'm Norm. We appreciate everything you do for us. We'll talk to you soon.